introduce, for those of who may not be aware, the advocacy work that me and some other community members do. We've been a part of this work since 2020, since the onset of COVID, under the leadership of the pastor here, Pastor Rondall Leggett. We were asked to be a bridge between the community residents and the services that Marin County provides. Again, we've been a part of this work for almost 5 years. We consider ourselves a community-based organization where it's not just members of First Missionary, but we invite all members of Marin City to be a part of this work. Mental health is a taboo topic, but it's a very important one. And it's important that we engage the community in conversations to break stigma, to help them understand that it is okay not to be okay. And there are resources that can help them through their struggles. So again, we thank you all for coming out to this very important conversation. Secondly, I have informed many of our panelists that out in the vestibule where you walk in, there are three little glass houses, and we have asked people as they've come in that if they have any questions for any of our panelists, when we get to our question and answer, I will be bringing those little houses to you. We encourage you to answer at least 2 questions. And for those questions that are in the box that may not have gotten a chance to be answered, I invite all our panelists to take those questions back to their prospective organizations to have conversations around the issues that we have in the community, and that if there comes a time again where we come into our 3rd conversation, that those questions will be the point of the continued conversation.
All right, thank you, Sister Charmaine. Can we give Sister Charmaine a nice hand? So the question around mental health and crisis response for Marin City. I was thinking about on my way down here a song that Marvin Gaye put out. And it goes like, it makes me want to holler. Life is so hard sometimes, it makes me want to holler. It makes me want to scream, makes me want to pull my hair out, makes me want to jump, shout, run around. But am I having a mental health issue, or am I just responding to the stress that's in my life? Who can I call? Who can I return to? Who's going to come see about me that has some kind of understanding about what I might be going to? And so tonight, this is the second, as I said, the last time that we were together, the community had a number of questions in reference to response, sensitivity to community needs, and we were left with the understanding that it was going to be some collaboration that takes place. And so before we begin the question and answer period, we want to give everyone an opportunity to introduce their agency, who they are, who they represent, what their role is. And so we're going to start here from that's my left, with the Marin County Mobile Crisis Unit. So if you could just identify yourself, your role, and tell us a little bit about what you've done, or what you do.
Hi there, thank you, and thank you for having us. My name is Todd Paler. I'm the program manager for Marin County's Mobile Crisis Program. I'm also manage the county's Crisis Stabilization Unit. I'm actually returning back to the Mobile Crisis Team. I was part of starting the Mobile Crisis Team back in 2016, and and then went off, and I was actually part of the residential team. We place what's called people who are on conservatorships when the mental illness is so severe that they're having trouble functioning in the community and need more institutional and supportive care, and was over that. And then I've recently just come back to the team, and we're going to hear more about how the team has expanded. And when I was running the team, we didn't have partner agencies and partner teams, so there's really a lot that's happened over time, and it's continuing to, in a dynamic way, to kind of coalesce, expand, and find whatever the equilibrium is that is needed to serve people in a good way.
Hi everyone, I'm Kellyanne Markovich. I am one of the unit supervisors of our mobile crisis response team.
Hello everyone, my name is Lewis Collins. I'm a crisis specialist with Marin County's mobile crisis response team.
Hi, good evening. My name is Megan Hinshaw. I am Kellyanne's counterpart and the other unit supervisor on mobile crisis.
Hi everyone, my name is Ayana Morgan Woodard, also known as Yaya. I am a member of the community, but I'm also double hats with Marin County Cooperation Team as the Community Coalitions Manager, and I was one of the lovely people to work on our side of MCCT's First Responders Crisis Team.
Hello everyone, my name is Jamir Reynolds. I'm the founder and executive director of MCCT. Before we get started, I want to dispel some myths that the Crisis Act is not, it doesn't operate as its own individual entity. This is in partnership with the county. Okay, so, I really want to put that out there. We started MCCT during not only COVID, but the social justice uprising, because we saw that a need for this type of agency and collaboration was needed in order to move the needle. And so, yeah.
Good evening, my name is Aziz. I was brought on as the director for strategy and training for the Roots team. I've been in mobile crisis the past 5 years. I'm a regional director for a couple teams up north in northern Marin and southern Sonoma County. And I've been here with MCCT for the past few months trying to get this team up and running.
Hi everyone, I'm Sean McCrell. I am the newest station commander down here in Marin City. I run everything out of our substation that's right down the street here. I replaced, if you knew in the past, Lieutenant Pierre Hunkane. So I've been here about 10 months, and with the Sheriff's Office 26 years, I have been down in Marin City for probably 8 total of that, off and on during my 26. And I'm just really excited to be back down here, and I wanted everybody to be able to see me and put a face to the name, and then hopefully start conversations with everyone. I have to tell you, it's very exciting for me to be on this panel with the crisis team and the Roots team just starting here. I'm very excited about it, and the hope for me is that with multiple options for mental health here in Marin City, that we can be one of the last options.
Thank you all for your opening remarks and welcome tonight. I'm the Reverend Dr. Vercel Milton. My first interaction with Marin City goes all the way back to 1982. When I came over here from San Francisco, I worked right here in this community up until 1995, where I had my own personal mental health crises. And I had my fall here. I went into treatment in Center Point. I rebounded from that, and I've been clean ever since. And I've been trying to, not trying, but every opportunity that I have to give back to this community, I do that. And so I want to take the opportunity to thank Dr. Leggett for trusting me to be able to manage tonight's conversation, but I don't approach it from a void. I'm also got people that still love me in this community, thank God. So I feel like I'm just as much rooted here as somebody that was born here. And so in thinking about that, it's important to recognize that what has been stated is that there's an effort underway to build collaboration, to work together, to as far as the agencies are concerned, to improve services to the residents of Marin City. We are living in times right now where everybody's mental health is under stress. But when you think about the African American community in particular, that stress is compounded just by the fact that we've been under stress and under mental health issues for so long. And so when I heard about it, I said, well, this is a new approach, and I would like to see how effective it's going to be. As a matter of fact, I got high hopes for it. And so with that in mind, I would like to give each of you an opportunity, because the last time we gathered, the community wanted to know, because it was raised, that there was going to be some time between the last meeting and this meeting where you were putting together the collaboration plan. And so I think before we get into questions, it would be important to give you an opportunity to share from your own personal agencies and collectively how that's been going and what has been any barriers, if any, to making that work. And I think that's a fair question to begin the night with. How has that collaboration been going, and what has gotten in the way of it? So I don't know which way we want to start. We started down there. Maybe, Jameer, you'd like to start? All right.
Mic check. Okay. It's about to give you all a hot 16. You know, even from this idea actually started in 2020. When I walked into the substation and met with Lieutenant Pierre by myself, and just letting them know, like, if you really want to serve or you want law enforcement to be a part of this community, you have to diversify how you serve. And that resulted into the Sheriff's Department helped pass out over 1 million pounds of food, in addition to reading to kinders on Zoom, because it was during the pandemic, and always being receptive, and even inviting MCCT to do a cultural competency training with their executive staff. And so that caught the attention of the county, and then the Crisis Act came about. In order for us to even receive the Crisis Act, it had to go through the county agency. Again, I'm just really stressing that because I know that's the myth that is out there. In order for us to even be on this stage, it had to be a form of collaboration and not just cooperation. And so we meet just about monthly. We have technical assistance, Michelle, Ida Green, and so many of the county agencies pick up when we call, and we've been working on this for about a couple of years now. And so we have been sharing data and doing so many other things, and Ayana go into the listening session. So from the onset, between the county and MCCT, collaboration had to be the pillar in which we stand on in order for us to even be up here. And as far as the Marin County Sheriff's Department, it was really about giving them a chance to serve in a different capacity. And that is not often presented, because oftentimes if you go to someone and ask them, do they want to work, they're going to give you their version of how it should work. And so we needed a plan. So we created a 16-point plan, and they responded to it. And so, again, from the onset of this, so we've been, all of us up here, pretty much from the county perspective in the Sheriff's Department, we've been talking for a couple of years now.
Thank you. I think adding to that, something that was done more on, closer to the direct service level, the community level, Kellyanne and Ayana met, I think about 6 months ago, to talk about the actual implementation of these mobile crisis teams and what that actually looks like, right? We can spend a lot of time talking about ideas and concepts, but tangibly, what do these risk assessments look like? What do these safety plans look like? What are your safety protocols? What do you say when the phone rings? And so helping MCCT understand the way that we got off the ground and what has been working for us, and then how they can evolve it to work for them and their team, their staff, and you all as the community that they primarily serve. So that was a huge, I think, win for us. I think something that's in the queue is ongoing shadowing. Talking a lot about shadowing is important to us because seeing the way someone operates, seeing what the encounters look like, the conversations, while they're happening in front of you, are significantly more valuable than hearing about them after the fact or talking about them. And so inviting the Roots team to join us and watch us answer phones, watch us transport clients, watch us engage with community members, that's something that we're working on. And then with the Sheriff's Office, in addition to the Sheriff's Office, we partner with the 12 other law enforcement jurisdictions across Marin, so we have our hands full. But specifically, we do twice a year attend CIT training, which happens for law enforcement officers receiving behavioral health training, trauma-informed care, cultural competency. Mobile Crisis attends that every year and speaks about our services and how law enforcement agencies can best engage with our care. In addition to that, we've attended patrol briefings to talk about our services, receive feedback. We've met with the communications and dispatch team so we can understand what their comms look like when a phone call comes into 911 and what our calls look like when we get a call to our mobile crisis phone number. And lastly, we've taken safety, self-defense and safety training with the Sheriff's Office so that we can know how to best protect ourselves and help keep community members safe as well.
And just to add a little bit more about the public safety component of things and our interactions with both fire and the Sheriff's Office, you know, public safety has evolved a lot, especially over the past 5 years in terms of mental health, substance use, homeless-related calls. You know, traditionally you call 911, you're either going to get law enforcement or you're either going to get, you know, fire / a medical response. Both routes are important. But at the same time, we need to realize that there's a lot of calls that come in through 911 that don't necessarily fit in either of those categories. So we look at ourselves as first responders, the Roots team, when we launch here next week. And we're here to field a lot of those calls that don't necessarily need to be handled by the Sheriff's Office or the fire department. We've had a lot of collaboration recently as well. Today I was able to meet with Captain Wallace here with the Marin County Fire Department. And myself and Lieutenant McCrill was able to meet and have a really nice conversation last week as well as to what collaboration will look like. And, you know, we imagine there's going to be a lot of situations where maybe the Sheriff's Department get sent out to a call, or maybe the Fire Department gets sent out to a call, and they think, hey, you know, this is a Roots call. Maybe we can provide some additional resources, transportation, Narcan aftercare. There's a lot of different ways that the community and our partnering agencies are going to be able to utilize our team. And vice versa as well. There has to be trust. It's going to be a partnership and a collaboration. And like Megan mentioned as well, we're going to have a strong group of team members starting here, 5 team members that are going to be starting here next week. And part of their training is going to include that collaboration with the county. They're going to be riding along with the Marin County Mobile Crisis Team and seeing how they take their calls and their field responses and whatnot, in addition to additional training in-house as well. So I just wanted to speak on that important initial connections between all of our teams, including fire and including the Sheriff's Office as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll keep mine brief because they really have covered a lot of this. Between Mobile Crisis and us, she talked a little bit about what we've done to collaborate and the things that we've been working on together. That's the same conversation that I had with Aziz over these last 2 weeks to talk about how we can do the same collaboration and the work together, and so that there can be more options and we can just have a lot smoother transition to stuff like this. And I'm very excited to have the ability to, you know, we've always tried to call Mobile Crisis whenever we can. Like that's always a goal for us. Every time that we're in a situation now where we think that type of training would be a lot more useful and helpful. We try to bring you guys on. The one thing that's not always been helpful for that is that, like us, you guys cover the entire county, and it's hard to get down here for every single one. Sometimes they're just busy in other parts of the county, which was what makes this so exciting. So the Roots team's going to be here. They're likely going to be our first call most of the time because they're here, if not every time, and we're just really excited to have that extra piece to make this a much safer situation.
Thank you so much. I'm curious, and I'm sure the community's probably going to have questions too to ask, but has there been an actual collaboration where you've all worked together on a particular crisis situation so far?
I mean, the Roots team is, we're launching, like you said, our trainings begins June 23rd, but we were consistently building this out. So we do get calls from, other individuals, to help out, but as far as an official collaboration amongst us all, we're still building. We haven't been out on an actual call together where we would defer to the sheriffs or, hey, mobile crisis, you guys don't have to come down here, we got it. And so that is about to happen, and I'm excited. And we've hired a few folks actually from this community. So when they pull up and it's something going on, imagine seeing someone that you know. So, yeah.
So when you say it's about to happen, do you have like a timetable when it's going to be operational?
Bam.
We have flyers.
Okay.
You get a flyer, you get a flyer.
Everybody gets a flyer. We actually have an exact timeline that Aziz can speak to.
Yeah, so the team's going to be coming in to start training effectively Monday. So the next 2 weeks is going to be educational classroom training mixed with each team member having some time with the county team doing some ride-alongs. And then officially, the field van will be operational and live Monday the 7th, responding to calls in the community. So next 2 weeks training, the following week on the 7th, the van will be operational.
So before we make a shift to allow the community to ask some questions, I just want to give you one more opportunity. If there's something that popped in your head that didn't pop in at first that you want to share, now would be a good time to do that.
So, for those who may or may not know, I conducted about at least 7 listening sessions. And so with those listening sessions, we pretty much just asked questions about what does it look like to respond to someone who is being homeless, or someone who may be having a substance use issue, who may just be having a mental health issue. And for the most part, we talked to at least over 100 residents here in Marin City, from various ages, from middle school all the way up to being elderly. Just to give you some statistics of just overall Marin City, a lot of people really did want 24-hour service, but we just don't have the capacity yet. So we have to start somewhere. And so we are starting from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 7 days a week. So know that that's 7 days a week that we guys have your back in Marin City during any type of crisis. The other piece about it was that we got a lot of good feedback just overall about the facilitation. So that means that we're doing something right by having the conversation, starting the conversation, and continuing the conversation. And so we're in the thick of it. I feel like us going to launch soon, but for the most part, I think everyone who were at the listening sessions realized that this is something that they wanted. If the community didn't want it, we would be completely different, right? We would look completely different. The conversations would look different. And at this time, I really hope that Roots can be something that we use consistently, not because we have to, but because there's even elders in the community who may need welfare checks. As simple as that. And that's something that our team will continue to do. And so that's my piece about the listening sessions. If you guys want more information, I'll definitely will give it out. But for the most part, we surveyed over 100 people. We had about 7 listening sessions, and they all got to give their input, and also did a survey at the end to say whether or not that input was heard or they had a good time, and those type of things.
All right, thank you. Initially, we had planned to have community members write out questions and drop them into specific mailboxes out in the lobby. Well, surprise, surprise. We're going to give community members an opportunity to just ask their questions. And so the first question is going to come from Brother Shannon, who's part of the church's mental health.
Yes. Good evening. My name's Shannon Bynum. I'm with the First Missionary Baptist Church Mental Health and NAMI Support Group. What I want to follow up is, like you said, on the last listening session, I'm going to only talk about personal experience, what I experienced, because there was some kind of miscommunication between the mental health, the mobile crisis unit, and the sheriff's department. Lieutenant Sean wasn't there. So what we have is, do we know what the difference between a 5150 and a 5585? Well, the sheriff was not informed what a 5585 was. That's toward minors being a danger. So being in the home, the person in the home is the first responders. You guys are the second responders. So when the crisis happened, the sheriffs need to know that a 5585 can also apply to a minor. Help me out here if I'm wrong. They can also implement a 72-hour hold. So I'm saying, have you guys collaborated together? Because Sheriff Department said they only know penal codes. They don't know anything about how to deal with minors, and that's a big issue, because as time goes, families are having crises after 9 o'clock, and the sheriff need to know how to diffuse something. So I would hope that you would at least look into what a 5585 is, so your sheriffs can know after 9 or 10 o'clock to diffuse it. No, that was just bringing, what Mr. Milton, is that a question? I'm just bringing back up the follow-up from last time. So now we have understand. Go ahead. Do you want to speak?
Yeah, here you go. Here you go. Hi there, Ida. How are you? So I've been in this field for about 35 years, and even way back in the mid 90s. I worked over in Contra Costa in their psych emergency. And I have to tell you that even as a professional, I have to admit to you that for about 2 decades, I didn't know that when a youth was placed on a 5150, that it was technically in the Welfare and Institution Code 5585. So most officers, obviously, right here I was, a mental health professional, I didn't even know that there was a difference between the codes, right? Most officers, certainly I wouldn't expect that they would know those kind of nuanced differences. The good news is that I think most officers, most lay people, even most professionals like myself for all those years, associated a 5150 with both, can be placed on a youth, and it could also be placed on an adult. And so I can assure you that at our crisis stabilization unit, we see youth all the time who are brought in on holds if they need that. And maybe law enforcement is thinking they're bringing them in on a 5150 hold. But the actual 5580 hold applies to the 5150 hold, and the application form that they use that's generated by the state covers both 5585 and 5150.
Did that answer your question, Shannon? All right, thank you for that.
I'm sorry, I don't know your name, the young lady between Ayana and that good-looking brother up there. Yeah. You had said, you had said that you work with the Sheriff's Department on a CIT. For the lay people, you know, in this profession, we use a lot of acronyms.
Sure.
We need to get away
Sure,
from that.
I
Can you
apologize.
tell them what a
Yeah.
CIT is? That's my first question. I'm gonna hold the mic so you can answer that.
Yes, so CIT, Crisis Intervention Training, so this is a training that is hosted by our Crisis and Justice Involved Division. That is any kind of crisis program or our programs that serve incarcerated persons. We host that training twice a year. It's a full week, if not longer, and it is various levels of law enforcement from Highway Patrol, Sheriff's Office, Parks and Rec. And they will come and they will receive training, they will receive presentations and tours from various behavioral health, health and human service staff members throughout that week, so they can learn the ins and the outs of the services that we are offering to community members and what role they play as law enforcement in and around these programs. So when they are bringing someone to the crisis stabilization unit, have they been there? Can they explain that to the resident of what they should expect, what the inside of the building looks like, the nursing area, the names of the staff members, things like that. And so Kellyanne and I just went maybe a month or two ago, and we were able to speak in front of the entire CIT cohort and talk to them about mobile crisis and the services that we provide, how we're expanding, how they should call us, why they should call us, and when they do arrive on scene with us, what our expectations are of each other so that we can most appropriately and effectively engage with the community member based off of what their needs are, right? We're here to serve the community, and so when we show up, we take a backseat and let the community member be the expert on what they're experiencing, and so we try to provide that trauma-informed lens also to law enforcement, so we're all on the same page.
Thank you for that explanation. That's why you're a unit supervisor.
So they tell me.
Jamir, it's been a long time coming. I know you are going to be so happy to give birth on this pilot in like 2 years. But have you guys thought about once you possibly take someone into your, I don't want to say custody, I don't know if that's the right word, but you take someone into your care. Thank you. That's the other unit supervisor. See, if you work for the county, you can work your way up. The supervisors know it. If you take someone into your care, what is the transport process going to look like? Are you taking those people up to, is it Unit A, Todd? Is it Unit B? Y'all keep changing. I don't know. Okay, so Aziz, can one of you guys?
Yeah. I can speak to that. So obviously, every call is going to be unique. Every individual we go out with, the circumstance is going to be unique. Our transportation policy as a whole is going to be, we have the authority and ability to transport folks voluntarily to staff services. There's going to be certain calls we go out with someone and they may need a higher level of care, and we may end up taking them to Unit B, the Crisis Stabilization Unit. Everything's going to be on a voluntary basis. Our team doesn't have the authority to write 5150s. That may be a call we may call out MCRT for. If they're not available, we may call out a deputy. But we are going to try to divert from institutions when needed, when we can, and try to support autonomy and empowerment, safety planning. But we do understand in this field, sometimes after a thorough assessment, they may need that higher level of care, and for liability reasons, we can't leave them alone. But everything we do will be on a voluntary basis, and we will be transporting people to staff services, and if needed in certain circumstances, to a residence, depending on the situation.
So our goal is not to just come in and throw people in a car. Our goal is to stand in the gap and show them that we support you through this. And we do not want to be looked at as such an agency that is just going to immediately go to, labeling a 5150, right? That we are working towards that being the last possible thing, uncovering all unturned stones. And so again, like Aziz was saying, everything is volunteer from, we call them family members perspective, but you know, we're going to be with them the whole way through. And so it is our duty that we not leave them alone, not just after they make it through their valley, but continue to do checkups and things like that. And if they want to be transported and they want us to go and, you know, a staff member may sit outside, you know, or stay for the duration of the process, then that's what we're going to do.
And just to add one more thing, this team, it's a mobile crisis response team, but we're not simply going to be a response team. It's going to be a proactive team. It's going to be a community team. So what that means is when there's not calls, the team is going to be out in the community, driving around. They're going to be out on foot patrols, walking around, getting to know the community. It's a tight-knit community here. A lot of people are related. A lot of people know each other. And luckily, that's one of the benefits of this team with our tight-knit team, with our 5 team members. We're going to be attending outreach events in the community, and we're going to stay active. And then there's also the component of follow-up care. The team will have the capacity to initiate follow-ups and follow-up care and make sure that each individual that has been in crisis that we've been in contact with gets connected to the appropriate services, and we can see that through appropriately.
I don't think he knows what to do with that. But I do want to, I just want to ask you to make sure you speak into the mic so that we can all hear you. It's got important information you're putting out there. I see you grab the mic.
I was going to say one last thing, and we want to make sure that the highest priority is also confidentiality. I want to put that out there because Aziz really touched on the point that this Marin City is one way in, one way out. It's only about 3,000 people here. If you look at the statistics, yes, African American has predominantly owned this area, but it's not the same anymore. And so just putting in perspective that yes, we've historically had certain issues and so forth, but now we need to really look at this as an issue that we can solve because we have the resources here. And then also making sure that confidentiality is very key. I cannot stress that enough. I'm making sure that's a part of this conversation because I know how it could be. Being from here, being third generation, it can get crazy really quickly, but we're here to support, we're here for solutions, we're here for resources. So I wanted to put that in.
Yeah.
But I thought she brought us over here. Just kidding.
So, you know, I'm looking at the panel, and most of you, except for the sheriff who came tonight, were here last time, except for Mr. Lewis. And Mr. Lewis, I think it's important to hear your voice and what role you see yourself playing on the team and how you're being integrated into all this.
So I am a crisis specialist with Marin County Mobile Crisis Response Team. I am a marriage and family therapist by training. I'm the one that's out running around in our county car all throughout the county, interacting with all of the community members, county-based resources, providing the appropriate assessments, resource linkage, pretty much whatever the identified persons that we're interacting with pretty much needs. So if anyone has ever seen me in Marin City, which is very possible, that's pretty much what we're coming out to do. So just from that perspective, we really emphasize we're not running around trying to throw people in our car either. Grand scheme. We are not running around the county attempting to write 5150s for every encounter. We are looking for the least restrictive means possible, which in many times is resource linkage. We come out, we assess, we interact with entire families, honestly, small communities in any given situation, and we're just trying to find the most appropriate response. to the scenario that is provided to us. And just really just trying to support the community from there.
Thank you, I appreciate that. We have another community member.
Thank you. My name is Jeff Broussard, and I'm a member here, First Missionary, and this community is, it's really part of my heart. That's why I'm here. Just to let you know, the mic needs to go that way because I'm going to ask the sheriff, and then I'm going to. Aziz, you mentioned a team of 5 people, and Jamir, you mentioned that you're going to hire a couple of people, and so. That prefaces, I want to ask you in real time, what does it look like in a response? So most responses are going to be 911. That's just realistic. So when it goes to 911, whether it goes to the sheriff's or the fire, what is literally the next step that happens? Do you wait and get to if it's been identified as a mental crisis situation, do you wait to get there as a sheriff's department and assess the situation? And then what do you do next? Do you call this dispatch and they call the mobilization team? Or do you call before you even leave to go to the scene, before you leave the sheriff's office, do you call somebody on the team?
Yeah, thank you for that.
Thank you, Jeff.
In the past, often just by the nature of the call, we have asked for mobile crisis to respond when we've been called to something. So I think that's the first part of your question, is based on what the call was that came to our dispatch. If it just sounds like there is some sort of mental health crisis on and not a public safety issue, which is where we would be needed, we try to get them en route right away. So that's going to be the plan, as far as I'm concerned, with the Roots team as well. Is if it's here in Marin City, we're going to ask for them to respond when we get a call like that it makes sense, that it doesn't look like it's a public safety issue. Fortunately, if someone calls 911, we probably need to respond no matter what. I mean, and I don't know how you guys are going to work it with the phone number. Hopefully that's going to be available in the community, and people maybe use that phone number before they call 911, depending on the severity of the crisis. And again, if there's not any public safety issue, that's a path that they can take, and then we'll never even know about it. I think that's the best path. But say if it comes through 911 and we do respond, and right away we're there, we ask for either one of these teams to show up and they're not available, well, then we'll just assess the situation and go on from there. Is that it? Yeah, right over the radio. We just ask, can you call mobile crisis or call the Roots team? Yeah, and then our dispatch will call them and say, this is what they've been dispatched to. In mobile crisis, as we've been working with them over the last year, when they can respond, they will, and they're very good about it. But in a lot of cases, they may be busy and somewhere else in the county, so that's why we're so excited about having a second option. And now they're in Marin City, they'll be the first option.
And those 5 people that you said are part of the team, you said 5, is it going to include anybody who lives in Marin City?
Yes. Yeah, did you want to answer?
No, go ahead.
Yeah. So team of 5, 3 of those team members are going to be licensed EMTs. And so later on in the discussion, we talk a little bit more about the specific call types we can handle. 2 crisis workers, and one of our crisis workers is someone that is born and raised in Marin City.
So it's really all about building healthy habits. I know we initially go to 911, and this is a new thing. So, and this is why it is important for us to be at community events, to be walking around, to be knocking on doors, to have people be familiar with, they're going to have on yellow shirts, so with the logo on it. So it won't be hard to know who's a Roots member. But again, we're not going to be sitting in the office waiting for a call. You may see us, again, on the basketball court in the 100 lot, or maybe at the church here. We're going to be active in the community. We're not sitting around waiting for a call. So if a call does come through, we're already in the vicinity to assist.
I think you guys maybe have spoken to it a little bit already, but I'm wondering about when you run into people that need an intervention. I ran into an old friend today who was very much in need of one. Hadn't had his medications in a couple of days. Feels like CVS is refusing to give him his medications. Feels like he's gone to the county and all other agencies trying to get help. He's in need of an advocate. It's about early 40s, Caucasian male, brilliant mind. The problem is, to a large degree, his brain won't shut down, right? So he's running 1,000 miles an hour. So he may be running past help, away from help, but he needs an advocate for him right now. So I was just wondering, who would I send him to? You know, who would I take him to?
That's a good question.
That would be MCCT, right? Crisis is not just mental health. It's food insecurity. It's domestic violence, right? You may have a youth that is going through something. And I know the topic is mainly about mental health, but if we continue to put ourselves in the box, we will overlook the help that is out there. So for your friend who is experiencing this type of difficult journey, we have case management at MCCT. We do medication pickup and drop off. We actually go to court with some of our family members and fight on their behalf. So the Roots team isn't just about, responding to a crisis. Whether, if your child needs an IEP or, you got evicted and you need emergency housing, like, we are so much more. And because we've had 5 years of practice, by implementing this Crisis Act, it only enhances what we do. So to answer your question, Brother Melvin, they will come to us.
What you need, Mel?
Fortunately, I guess I could say it now, we will have a satellite office at the school. So, at the central office. So instead of trying to find a way and transportate to bring them to the Marin Shipbuilding and Molly Stones, we'll be right here in the community. I can connect you with our Safety Net Services Director.
Did he say tomorrow?
Yeah. Hey, listen,
That's a good question.
This is why MCCT was created, for things like that. So I'll connect you with our Safety Net Services Director, and we can get the ball rolling. Right. So one thing, that's what IEN does. We do make those phone calls. We do our due diligence, a part of our intake process. Why? Because we do not want to partake in duplication of services. And it's more effective if we're talking to one another to know what you have tried, what you hadn't tried, and then we come up with a plan to assist this person. So we do make those phone calls.
Get back over there. I think she's going to respond to you.
We just wanted to add a piece about that same kind of question and scenario from the mobile crisis perspective is our scope of services is a little bit more limited because of our capacity and the service area that we have. But like we do, like when we get a call, like if you called us, sir, and you talked about your friend, we would take all that information. If you had his name, we'd look him up in our system to see if he's connected to any care within the county or any of our community-based organizations. If they do have treatment providers, we are able to contact them in the moment to find out, like, hey, did they miss their last appointment? Have you seen them? Have you had eyes on? What was it like? What do they need? If it's us taking them to the emergency department because they're anxious that they're running out of meds, they don't know what to do, we get those calls often, and we can facilitate that safe transport without going into if there's a more imminent safety concern, then we're always assessing for that. That's a top thing for us. But we can also facilitate just a safe transport for someone who feels unsafe with themselves or feels like they're in imminent danger of running out of meds or becoming symptomatic or feeling really unwell, and we can help them get to the place they need to be. We ourselves, we are not medically trained professionals. There's a grand idea of someday we will have EMTs, which we really love, and further diversifying our team and our scope. We don't have access to meds. We do sometimes we're able to partner with our crisis stabilization unit who has a staffed psychiatrist, getting them in and having them kind of stabilized and evaluated for that to kind of bridge that imminent kind of in the moment, we don't know what to do. And we can also go out, and then the nice thing about us, and yes, we are community-wide, but that we can also come out every day if we need to. If you continue to call, or if you said, hey, my friend James is really in trouble, I don't know if he'll talk to you, but could you go out? This is where he hangs out with, this is what he generally looks like. We'll go out and do a search, and we might see him and he might be like, no. And we're gonna go out again the next day and be like, hey, do you remember us from yesterday? And start to build that rapport and try to let some of that guard down. So when we do go out maybe a fourth or fifth time, he's like, okay, you're not hauling me away, you're not removing my rights, you're not threatening to me, we show up like this, we're plain clothes, and just talk to people on a really therapeutic level and address their basic needs and their human needs. Like, where are you? I'm gonna meet you where you are and find out what I can do to help you.
And hopefully you can find James.
Yes. James? For sure. Yeah, if you call our mobile crisis number, yeah, you can call our team right now. We are 24/7.
Before you leave.
Yep, our cards are out front with our number. We are 24/7 and growing. So you can call anytime. Yes, it is up here too. 473-6392, and you will reach our team directly. It is a community-facing phone number. You call that, you will reach a member of our mobile crisis response team, sometimes even Megan and myself. But we always have someone on 24/7. And Megan and I also alternate being on call as a supervisor 24/7, so they always have access to us for consultation, needs, support planning. If we need to try to coordinate higher levels of care, we can do that at any point in time. Yeah, so sir, please call about your friend.
So Ayanna alluded to earlier, Marin City was once a predominantly black community. There's only 800 black folks that's in this community now. And so Jamir, Aziz, Ayanna, this question is for you, because we do have a wider demographic, multicultural. You know, we have Ridgeway, and you may know a few people over there. I think you probably gonna know more people in housing than you are over there. There are so many divisions of the community, and just wondering, how is Roots going to infiltrate the community at large so that folks know that this service is going to be available?
Absolutely. Our biggest thing is outreach, education and outreach. We know that we definitely have some populations of Russian, Ukrainian, Arabic, Brazilian. We're a melting pot, literally. And so we've already kind of started the process of choosing, strong leaders in those particular communities. We've talked to Yaya, which is, he's in the Arabic community. He's totally for it. So he's totally ready to start telling his whole entire family, everybody who's in that area, that this is something that we can use. And there's a lot of things on their side of their religion that some of this stuff is new for them. But in just looking overall, we're here to support. And so Shannon is back here somewhere, but he is our outreach guy. So we're definitely gonna go door to door. We're gonna invite people out. Like he said, we're gonna be proactive. So we're gonna knock on doors. We're going to make sure that they know us by first name basis. And if we don't do that, it's only 3,000 people here. It's only one way in, one way out. And so I think that we can cover pretty much everybody from the Marin Headlands to Ridgeway to the Pole Homes to all the other ones. I got a sheet, so we are ready.
So,
like Ayanna said, outreach. But one of the questions, one of our interview questions was cultural competency, right? And understanding, just various religions, various, we actually hired someone who speaks like 4 languages, right? And Portuguese is one of them. We know we have a large Yemeni population, and, we know that if we go to a brother-sister home that that practices the Islamic faith, there are certain cultural attributes that as a man that I cannot, entertain, with Aziz and things like that. And our goal is to have a global perspective, right? And understand that when we're going into these spaces, that we know that there are certain cultural interactions that must happen, even for them to even talk to you or to even accept help. And we also have to dispel the myth. One of the myths about MCCT is that we only serve black people, and that's a lie, right? And that is indicated in our data. So we have to work extra hard, especially where the world is at today, of really bridging the gap, especially even in black and brown communities. With everything that's going on, we want various cultures and other groups to understand that we are here to serve. My team knows that we are in the customer service business. Whether if you don't want to do this, then you don't need to be in the customer service business. So we have a global perspective in our service provision model.
Thank you so much. So having a history myself of working in the community and working in community-based organizations and working for the county and just working. I've been still working. So the thing about it, though, is that we always like to paint the best picture of our efforts, our work, of what we're doing in the trenches, how we, are meeting people's needs. But every organization, every community worker, everybody on the front line has some challenges. And I haven't heard about any challenges yet. Are there any challenges that you're facing in this community in terms of getting the word out, reaching people, even working together? I mean, I know y'all trying to paint the best picture because you're sitting up there together around the same tables. However, reality is reality. And people have personalities, people have different skill levels. I'm kind of curious myself about, the training that you all are attending. Are you attending trainings together? So I just wanted to throw those out there. Maybe y'all could just answer that.
I just wanted to throw out there that I came to MCCT in September. And so I kind of feel in a way that this is my baby in a sense, being at MCCT in general, but I believe that we've all collaborated in ways that we didn't even realize. Having conversations with different people, but then realizing that we're all talking about the same things. I think the biggest challenge for me was that because we all have different lenses and perspective on some of the work that we're doing, it doesn't always align, and that's just the honest truth of it. They come from a bigger standpoint. We're a little bit more focused in. They have to take care of everyone from a more higher level safety perspective. And so the only challenge I felt like for me is that I wanted more community members to come out. I felt like I outreached a lot. We made sure that it was on social media. We made sure that we're going door to door. But this will not work unless the community is here. I'm even looking at this room. This room is fine for me because I feel that this is a good representation of who we are as a community. But overall, if our whole community doesn't know about this, we're kind of failing. We're not doing our due diligence here in this community, from the sheriff's office all the way to Marin County. We have these tiers, we have this status, but now we're at a even playing field right now. So this is our opportunity to make sure that we're taking care of this community. And like I said, that was my biggest challenge, being from Marin City, also trying to explain it, knowing that crises happen all the time, but people can't express themselves. They can't actually put the trauma that they've gone to into words so they can actually be solution oriented. And so that's one of my biggest things too. We have a very crab in the barrel mindset sometimes where we don't realize that in order to grow the next generation, we have to put them above us. And make sure that their skill set and their life skills are on point. So,
I don't think that we're painting the perfect picture. What you see is that we're trying. Stokely Carmichael was marching with Dr. King, and they were arguing during the march, but they were both going in the same direction. So we can have disagreements, but as long as we're continuing and going in the same direction, that is the goal. That's why growth is important, and that's why growth hurts. We understand that there has a systemic mindset around a disconnection between fair and equitable resources between Marin City and the county for decades, and it is apparent by the statistics through fund disbursement and so many other things. But here we are. You know, we do have those difficult conversations. If you can't hold me accountable or call me on the carpet, then I don't think you have my best interest at heart, because you're pushing me to grow. We know that the mobile crisis team is spread thin, right? We know the county covers basically unincorporated areas and everywhere else. But what can we do? Roots literally stands in the gap between these two agencies as it pertains to Marin City. And so, correct, right? And so being bold enough to say, you know, to let them know, you know, we're having conversations around response times and being spread thin and interactions with law enforcement. But now that it's out on the table, we can move from there. So again, I just go back to what you see is we're trying.
I'd say you're doing it.
I don't know what you're gonna say.
Trying is dying. We ain't dying.
We do. I did want to share something that, in preparation for this meeting, we pulled some information, and I felt like it's relevant for the community to know. Mobile Crisis Response Team received about 3,600 calls in the last 12 months.
Wow.
Only 29 of those came from Marin City. So that makes me think of two things. One, several things, I guess. One, folks are not aware of our service. Two, they don't know how to engage in our service. Or three, perhaps they've called in the past and we've been unavailable, or we did not provide the service you were looking for. Our joint ask, speaking for my entire team, please give us another try. Please let us provide a restorative experience. Let us have another opportunity to try to do better or be more available. Less than 5% of our calls end in holds. Overwhelmingly, we're providing resources and services in linkage, helping people access substance use treatment, shelter resources, food, pantries, you name it. We have a lot of available resources and programming that we can connect you to. So please consider, you know, I would say generally, yes, when you hear about mobile crisis barrier, it's our availability. We've increased our vehicle fleet. We have multiple teams moving at once, so we can have up to 3 teams across the community. We've decreased our response times. We can get to you from the time of phone call to your front door in less than 45 minutes. On average, I'd say that also includes West Marin, so we can probably get here a little bit sooner. But we really want to be here for you guys, and so we want to figure out a way that we can be more available so you guys feel comfortable in calling.
One thing. I think for the community to know is, like, very transparently, I think a perceived barrier could be that there's a competition between the 3 agencies that are presented here. And I think I can speak for all of us to lay that to rest here in this room, that we are a collaborative, that we need each other to serve our community. And there is no rivalry, there is no turf war, there is none of that. Like, we want to have MCCT's back, we want to have the sheriff's back, and I think it's vice versa. And like, we need each other to survive and to do this work well and to meet the community where they are and to serve those needs the best way that we can. If it's not us, like, we'll pull on MCCT. And when they're, you know, until you're 24/7, because that's coming, we're a reserve. And we're after hours, we're 24/7, and we can do follow-up, and our follow-up is gonna include, hey, we serve someone in your community. We plan a follow-up. Do we wanna do a joint one? What can you do, what can we do? So we're not duplicating, but we're meeting every single need, and so we're fulfilling that and not leaving a crisis not closed is our goal. We want to come in and serve and help and improve, and we're going to work together to do that. Some things fall in our scope outside of MCCT and sometimes out of sheriff and all the way around. We all have our specialties and our strengths, and we're going to use those together to serve this community.
How large is your crisis team in the county?
At full capacity, mobile crisis specifically is 27.
27? 20. How many of those are black? I can see, I can count to 1. I'm just wondering how many. 2. Right. And I'm glad to see, you know, Jameer and Ayanna and them here, because I think the question came up about, hiring people to deal with cultural competence, right? Because I have to share, several months back, I saw a situation where the crisis team was called, and I can't remember faces, so I don't know if it was anybody up there, right? But it was, I thought I saw one black female, one white female, and one white male or black male. I can't, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But what happened was the person needing the help was on one side of the street, and they were on this side of the street talking to myself and the youngsters. When I say youngsters, he was an adult male talking to the father, right? And they were like very leery or afraid to cross the street. And the parent was saying, why are you over here talking to me? He's the one that needs the help. So the crisis team waited for the police that took about a half hour or so to show up. So in the meantime, the person across the street was going through whatever. I mean, he wasn't yelling and cursing or throwing rocks or breaking glass or threatening to hurt. He was just having that episode, right? And I know that when you know someone, you feel, or a black person, you feel a little more comfortable about approaching them. Maybe if it's white and white, you feel a little bit more comfortable about approaching them. Like I say, my buddy today, you know, he's a Caucasian male, and I'm more cautious about approaching white people than I am black people, right? So this cultural competence is extremely important, because no matter what the color is, it could be a dangerous situation. But these people did not cross the street, and this was a 20 to a 30-minute standoff. So that's what I wanted to know about the cultural competence and what type of training is taking place, and if you have any room on your staff for another person of, I hate to say that, person of
You can
color.
say it.
Well, we used to be colored people, but we got slick, and now we're
Right.
people of color, right? So we
Right.
tricked them big time on
Right.
that one, right? But that's what I want to know.
So, being black in Marin County is a real thing, especially when it comes to services. And we need, if we can't have that honest conversation, the services are never going to be authentic. We dance around it. We say people of color as a way out. But when you look at the statistical data, the B and BIPOC experiences so much more of the weight as it comes to racism, systemic injustices, and so many other things. And this is why having, like I did a cultural competency training with the entire sheriff's executive staff, even around microaggressions. And my cousin who joined me was a black cop in Oakland and talked about experienced racism as a black man and a police officer from other officers. So as it pertains to, again, like you're saying, how, you know, interacting, there's a myth about Marin City. If you talk to a bunch of youth and ask them, what have you heard about Marin City? They say a lot of crime and so many things else. But if you look at the statistical data, most of the crime happens down the highway, right? But however, that dark cloud hangs over this place until you actually come here. And that's why we have to have these conversations around service provision model. And to really go back, it wasn't a knock on the mobile crisis team. It was to say, if you can't get here, we're here, right? And that's where we get confused.
And don't forget it.
Exactly, right? And that's where we get confused. We confuse it with competition. You have an added resource of not only people who are here, but we have people on our team from the community. So when you make it here to do intake, that interaction is a lot smoother because you have someone from the community standing there, guiding and assisting in the situation. And so, Brother Melvin, you are correct. You know, we need to have more conversations around this. And again, it's okay, you know, like, you know, bamboo is the hardest to break through, but once it breaks through, it grows the fastest. So I'll pass it to Aziz.
Yeah, and I can speak a little bit more on the training component. So
Speaking to the mic.
we were really strategic about what kind of staff we want, what kind of team we wanted in this community. It's a unique community, very diverse, very tight knit. So we were very, very strategic, and that's why it took us a little bit longer to roll out the team, because we wanted to have a team. So we have females on the team, we have males on the team, we have folks from all different types of cultures and backgrounds. We have one team member that can speak 4 languages. You know, she speaks Portuguese, Spanish, English, French. So we also, within our training on our very first day, we've incorporated a Marin City historic and cultural perspective, where Ayana and I are going to talk a little bit on, you know, the kind of the background, context, and history of Marin City, where Marin City stands currently, and also literally drive them around Marin City and show, you know, I grew up in the house right behind this church right here. And went to school in this community myself. So, you know, them bringing me on, I took this project personally because I know this community really well, and this is something that Marin City has needed for a long time.
What I can say about Mobile Crisis Response Team is that we have several different classifications, is what we call them, job descriptions. All of our crisis specialists, our clinicians, have completed a master's in the area. They're completely licensed by the Board of Behavioral Science, or they're in pursuit of their license. Our alcohol and drug counselors all have they're all certified alcohol and drug counselors via their accreditation, and our peer support specialists are credentialed peers. That is their own personal license that they carry with them, that they bring with them to the job. We provide 10 2-hour trainings, our 3-hour 5150 training, ongoing trainings that we continue to add, and we added a new one this quarter. We are constantly in the pursuit. Part of our program and our licenses are around continuing education. It's required for all of our licenses to receive several dozen hours every year in continuing education on various topics. So we understand that the necessity of that and the importance of that as well.
All right. I want to thank each of you. Now, we're down to the last 15 minutes. And in all fairness to all 3 of your organizations, I do want to thank each of you for coming out. But I also want you to provide a vision, if possible, of what the future is going to look like when this is all working correctly as you envision it to work. I understand that at some point, the sheriff is going to be stepping back. And I don't know if you're stepping back, but I know they're coming to the forefront. So how is all this, as you see it, going forward? And we'll start with the sheriff, since he's Mike's been sitting there, it's kind of cold. We wanted to warm it up a little bit.
Does this mic work? Okay. Thank you. You guys can hear me? I know, it's the first time I used it. Just to say to that, like, we're obviously excited about this opportunity, and
Speaking to the mic, man, we want to hear you.
You can't? Okay. And so, just speaking to that, the idea that we don't have to be the first responder on a lot of these calls anymore is pretty exciting. And the mobile crisis team talked earlier about the idea that we work together. I just want to say, there has been never in the last 4 years of a discussion that I've been part of where I heard anyone in my department say, man, we really want to keep this piece of the job. We are very excited to have professionals with the training that they all have coming in and doing this type of work. We think it's absolutely the best thing for the community, for just the public in general, and we're happy to take a step back and do this. So we're excited about everything that's coming, and for us, it's just, you know, managing how it's going to look. And I believe we won't even know. We won't even know the full scope of how much it's helping, because I think a lot of the calls that we're used to seeing will start to disappear. And that's a really good thing. That's if it's working, it's creating a lot less work for us that way, and we're able to concentrate on a lot of other areas. So that's I think going to be the best measurement. If we have this discussion again next year, I may talk even less if it's.
Well, maybe you can tell us about your crime-fighting efforts, since you don't have to do so much mental health work.
Well, Jameer talked about the crime being mostly on the freeway. I would say it's at the freeway and Target. That's it.
Thank you. Anybody else now?
I was going to speak from my experience from the time I kind of started this. I kind of see it in a couple different ways. Of course, us doing outreach and making sure that it's everywhere, at the schools, at Target, on the buses, everywhere. In addition to them being able to call us at that number, being able to call 911 and they still get in contact, if they even have their number and they still can get in contact with us. So we're literally the middleman between everybody, because we're such a big of the community culture piece. I think that's the reason why we're really at this table, right, or in this meeting. The other piece I wanted to speak about was that once they get that call, we can now assess the situation. They will be on the scene. They'll be able to see whether or not what type of resources make sense at that moment. Because we're going to be there from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., we have to be realistic. Because if it is later in the day, there might have to be a scenario where we do bring them in because we're done at that point in their 24 hours. Or a scenario where we can get them a resource and we're hoping that we de-escalated the scenario enough for that person to be stable enough so we can get them the actual service the next morning. Other than that, we're going to just keep continuing calls and solve problems. That's my biggest thing here, making sure that if we do get a call, that we're responding and following up.
Yeah, just a follow-up to that. I noticed some community members had mentioned, and correct me if I'm wrong, about a safe place. I think you had mentioned something about that, Jameer, where people can be cared for, given respite, until the actual, I guess, yeah, speak to that, Jameer.
So, you know, we were working with the school district because we believe that having a satellite office in the community allows a space, you know, if we have to do intake, you know, and the person doesn't want to be in the community, they want to be in a safe space to decompress or to wait on mobile crisis, right? Or, you know, if the sheriff's department, we say, hey, we got a space for them, you know, they don't have to go, you know, to the substation, you know, we'll keep you informed. But from, back to your original question is saying step back, optically, if you look right now, no one has stepped back, everyone is to the side. So no one is really stepping back. It's that we're marching forward, but now we all don't have to fight to be in the front. We have created a frontline opportunity to where you have one agency that stands in the gap, and if we have to go to the left or to the right, they have the resources. If they have to come down, we can connect. If he has to send someone out, we can connect. So I don't believe individuals or organizations are stepping back. We are becoming more aligned to serve the community the way that they want to be served, because oftentimes there are so many cookie cutter programs that come into black communities and say, I know what you need. I know what's best. And the community is like, well, you don't even know us well enough to know what's best for us. And I believe having these conversations and looking at the data, we are serving the community based on their voices on how they want to be served.
Thank you.
I think any of us on Mobile Crisis and our county side can think like ideally, like 5 years from now, we want regional teams. That it's a strength and a weakness of ours that we cover the entire county. That we can cover that ground, but covering that ground is hard and it is time consuming. And so, and we have limited staff. We've grown from 2 staff, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, to 24/7 with 20 staff. And it's still, someone calls out and we're down a team. And so it hits hard. We are still small. We're mighty but small, and we are trying to grow. And I think, you know, in real time, what I hope to see is us leaning on each other, leaning in together, and knowing from that same stance that I can't do this in isolation. And when it might get to a point when Mobile Crisis gets a call and we've assessed, we've done our intake, we've done our screening, and there isn't an imminent safety, and we might be able to call an MCCT and be like, hey, do you have capacity to respond out? This is the information that we have. We'll be on standby if it escalates. And big picture, I think because those calls are gonna happen in this community where a higher level of care is needed, it's indicated that someone can't be safe here, and they need somewhere to go to be stabilized, to be safe, to be, you know, talked to and assessed. And instead of calling sheriff, it's calling us first. Because while we can seem more restrictive than MCCT, we're still less restrictive than sheriff. We're never gonna go hands-on. We're never gonna cuff someone. Our cars are secure. There's safety barriers for everyone's safety, but it's a cushion seat. They're not handcuffed. There's no bars on the window, and we're with them every step of the way until they get to where they need to go. And we're talking with them to the next chain of command of whatever treatment team is coming, whether it's an emergency room, whether it's Helen Vine recovery, whether it's our crisis stabilization unit. We are there holding their hand, sharing that vital information so nothing gets lost in translation, that person doesn't feel dropped, and they don't also feel like they are sharing their most vulnerable story 1,000 times. And we hear you, we are here with you, and we will take you to the next place. And so I think that's my vision in the very near future, is that's how we're working together.
Thank you so much. I think that we have reached 7:54. I just want to kind of tie a bow around this. From what I understand, it's not folks dropping back or dropping. You are now all on the front line. And can we just applaud that as a community? There's still a lot of work to be done. There's still a lot of work together to be done. But a lot of the psychological barriers have been broken down. I think I can say that. There's concern still from the community regarding the cultural competency piece of seeing more black faces or black people engaged, involved in the process. Want to make sure you take note of that. And again, we just really want to thank you for coming out, for sharing what has been done so far. And we look forward to exciting things happening. I know I do. I hope if I slip and fall and hit my head going out the door, I can call somebody in to pick me up. It ain't gonna happen, Mel. I'll call you, Mel. You'll pick me up. But yes.
I just wanted to let you guys know, please take one of these on your way out. All it says is Roots Mobile Crisis Response Team. Roots actually stands for something. It actually means responding to our own through support. MCC proudly launches the Roots Mobile Crisis Unit in Marin City, offering compassionate, immediate emergency responses without relying on 911, led by certified, community-focused first responders. If you are having a crisis or you know someone who is, please call 415-507-3543. But that will be live on July 7th, so don't do it till July 7th, unless you call us specifically.
Are those flyers available?
Yes, outside the door, right outside Loomis Trellis.
Okay. If I could just drop this in y'all's spirit before we go, since y'all are such a great unit together, why don't y'all throw a luncheon or something for the community so they can come out and meet all y'all and learn what y'all doing when y'all ready to roll? They ain't got the money for it? Uh-oh. The county don't have no money? Oh, really? Well, you know, we have a feeling that the folks who need to be here are here. And so, but I assume there'll probably be another meeting at some point. We'll let the community know. Again, thank you all for coming out tonight and sharing with us. And anybody else want to clap their hand a little bit? Yeah, let's give them a hand for being here. Thank you so much. And that concludes tonight's discussion on crisis services in Marin City. I would say look forward to future announcements of anything associated with this coming down the pipe. All right? You are now dismissed. Somebody got some money.